everyone, I'm Cheryl and welcome to the Sewing Room channel, and this is your tip of the week. I recently bought one of these wool pressing mats. Now mine is about a 1/2 inch thick and it's about, I believe, 18 inches long by around 13 inches wide. It's somewhere around that. Now you can get wool pressing mats that can cover an entire craft table. But they are pretty pricey, so look at the different sizes. Now the advantage to a wool pressing mat is that you don't have to use a steam iron, you don't have to spray your fabric with water, and it gets the wrinkles out. One of the problems with using a regular iron on an ironing board is that if you run the iron back and forth like this, it's going to stretch, especially if you push against the table. So when you're ironing your fabric, you don't want to push against the table. You just want to let your iron glide. So here's a piece of fabric that's wrinkled, and I'm going to test it out in front of you to see what it does. Now and by the way, it says to only put it on wool, and I'm just going to gently move it across. I'm not stretching the fabric. And there's a little bit over here. And you know what? It didn't do too bad of a job. So this pressing mat also came with this little iron stand right here. I get a lot of questions about my iron because every time I grab the handle, it lowers down. When I release, it lifts up. So I don't have to worry about it sitting on the ironing table getting really hot and burning anything. You can turn that feature off and then set it upright. So I think this is a great idea, this pressing mat, if you do a lot of quilting, because quilt blocks can get stretched out of shape so easily. So if you work with a lot of small pieces of fabric and little quilt blocks, I think it's worth the price of buying it. Now, if you're interested in getting that iron, it's called Oliso Pro. You can go to Amazon.com, go to the sewing and crafts section, and just enter that. And they come in different colors, and I believe they have different prices on different models, and it is worth it. My first one I bought lasted me 3 years, and I do a lot of ironing, which I thought was really good, because I used to go to Walmart, buy the most expensive iron they had. It would last 3 months. So for me, it was worth the price of buying a more expensive iron. Now, getting back to this pressing mat, you can clean it. They don't say, they just say rinse it. So if any gunky stuff should get on it, you could take a wet rag, maybe some very mild soap, and get any gunky stuff off of it. I have a lot of viewers from foreign countries who watch all over the world, and many of those viewers in their country, they use the metric system of measuring. And I always get requests, can you please do it in centimeters? So for those of you who are using the metric system, here's a quick way to solve your problem. You can buy a tape measure that has both the metric system and inches on it. So for instance, on one side of my tape measure, up here at the top edge is inches. On the bottom edge is the centimeters right here. So if I said stitch 1 inch, you go straight down and it looks like it's 2.5 centimeters. So look for a tape measure. You can go on Amazon.com. I'm sure in some of your fabric stores, you might be able to get the tape measure on it. But I use it all the time because I do watch tutorials from other countries. And there's a lady I used to watch many years ago who was very good at sewing clothes. And so I used to watch her, and everything was in centimeters. I just went to my little tape measure here and converted it. I'm always getting questions on Quilting Stitches. And I'm going to go over some of the ways that you can mark your fabric and you'd be able to stitch over those lines. Now, they're not all my favorites. Some of them I don't use. I have people who tell me they do use it. So it's really up to you and how much work you want to put into it. So you have a quilt top or any fabric that's going to be on the top of your blanket that you are making. And it looks better if you are following a pattern and that your rows of stitching are even. So quilting stitches, when I suggest to people, I say, well, anywhere from 2 inches apart to maybe 3 inches apart. So people have a hard time following that line. So let's go over the methods. So you could just put your ruler down on your fabric and make sure use a long ruler, a yardstick, anything long. Make sure it's going straight on the grain of your fabric. And then you just mark lines. Now I've got them 2 inches apart, so I'm going to put the 2-inch line here on my previous drawn line and draw again. So I'm going to keep doing that all the way across. Let me show you another one. This is a fabric marking pin, and this is water soluble. So when you put water on it, the lines disappear. So you could do the same thing. Now, if your fabric is really dark, this fabric marker is not going to work. You would have to use the white chalk. And so you would line up your ruler again and draw lines. Now, I didn't show this on the first example, but when you want lines to crisscross over it, you would then turn your fabric, go the other way, and draw your lines. That way you have kind of a checkerboard pattern. Now, the problem with these two methods is that you've drawn all the lines, you've stitched all over it, and then you've got to get it rinsed out. So you either have to wait till the quilt is done, get your binding on it, and then drop it in the washing machine. Or you can just take it to your sink or use a spray bottle and get it out. With the chalk method, in your pack of chalk, I'm using the Dritz Taylor chalk. You take this little sponge that comes with it and you get it wet and you rub it off. Now I don't want to bother with either one of these because that's a lot of work. So let me show you another way. This is 1/4 inch wide quilter's tape. And this is also used for marking your fabric to give you a guide as to where to stitch. So you just take it and you peel tape off of the back and then you lay it on your fabric in straight lines. And you keep using your ruler to measure where to go to the next line. Well, a lot of people use this method, but that's still a lot of work for me. So let me show you another way. If you've been having a lot of problems with your quilting stitches, you're doing it, it doesn't look right, you have little pin tucks, your fabric is stretching, you're probably not using a walking presser foot, and that's what this is. This helps to push through underneath your presser foot multiple layers of fabric evenly. Can you get stretching with this? Sometimes I get a little bit. Can you still get pin tucks? Yes. If your fabric is not smoothed out all the way, you're going to get pin tucks no matter what you use. Now, as far as a guide for getting your stitches to the right width, with your walking foot comes this little metal bar. It looks like this. Okay, can you see that? All right, so now on the side, on the back of your walking foot, there's a tiny little hole, very small back there. You take this pointed end and you push it in there. So your needle is going right down through here. And you have the bar back here. And what it is this would be your previously stitched line right here. You leave the guide bar on here, and as you stitch down, it's helping you to keep the equal distance all the way down. Sometimes I get a viewer who doesn't really understand how to put this walking foot on. You put it on like a regular presser foot. Take your old presser foot off, put this one on. But this part right here has to be over the screw that holds your needle in. It helps to keep this presser foot balanced so everything goes through evenly. If you don't have it over the screw, you're going to get horrible looking stitches. Well, I hope this tip of the week was helpful to you and that you did learn something new. I have lots of tips of the week. I'm getting on close to 100 of them. So if you're interested in watching the others, it's like taking a class. You're learning a little bit about sewing every week through every one of these sewing tips of the week. So the links to the rest of my sewing tips will be listed below your YouTube screen in the description section. So you just scroll down, click on the words show more or the little down arrow, and you'll see it expand open. And you'll see other links to other beginners sewing projects. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram and check out my Facebook page. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time, and happy sewing. If you like the Sewing Room channel, one of the best ways to show your support is to subscribe by clicking on that red subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to click on share to share this video with your friends. And make sure you click on the bell so you receive notifications for all my new videos. I'm Cheryl, this is Manny, and this is Scotty. See you next time.